We're going to take you live to Adelaide now, where Acting Prime Minister and Foreign Affairs Minister Penny Wong and Trade and Tourism Minister Don Farrell are speaking.
To break from Mr Dutton's partisan narrow position, a narrow position which really flies in the face of the generosity and the decency of the Australian people. Mr Lisa reflected today that no great nation has ever been built by dividing it. That's why it's so disappointing that Mr Dutton has made the choice he's made. But the Australian government, the Albanese Labor government, we have hope and faith in the Australian people. We all know the Australian people are fundamentally generous, fair and decent. We've seen that most recently on national issues in the marriage equality debate, and we look forward to working with all of you as this country moves to a moment of national unity when we vote on the referendum for the voice. On other matters, I'm here today with my colleague and friend Don Farrell, the Trade Minister, to make an announcement about the progress we are making towards stabilising the relationship with China. We're pleased that constructive dialogue has resumed. Obviously, stabilisation and the resolution of trade issues will take time, but we are pleased that constructive dialogue has resumed. We've had a number of discussions, obviously at Foreign Minister level, at Trade Minister, at Assistant Minister level, and also at Leader level. As a result of that dialogue, today Don and I announced that the Australian Government has reached an agreement with China that creates a pathway for the resolution of the dispute over Australian barley. We have made clear that we believe there is no justification for the measures that China introduced in relation to barley. We have also made clear that we believe it is in both countries' interests for these trade impediments to be removed. So today I can confirm that China has agreed to undertake an expedited review of the duties imposed on Australian barley over a 3-month period, which may extend to a fourth if required. In return, we have agreed to temporarily suspend the World Trade Organisation dispute for the agreed review period. Obviously, if the duties are not lifted at the end of the review period, we will resume our dispute in the WTO. I want to make clear that if this agreement is successful in providing a pathway for the lifting of duties on barley, the Australian Government would expect a similar process to be followed in relation to the trade barriers which exist on Australian wine, and I know that is of particular interest here in South Australia. We still remain confident of a successful outcome for Australian wine at the WTO. I'll leave Minister Farrell to go through the detail, but I would make the point that we have been able to reach this point by seeking accountability in the WTO. That is why trade rules, transparent, predictable trade rules, remain very much in Australia's national interest. And we should remember, obviously, that the WTO trade dispute system encourages bilateral resolution where possible. Australia will continue to work within the WTO and other trade forums to protect and preserve the rights of Australian exporters as we seek to resolve disputes over trade.